Hello everybody, we're at Sequatchie County High School in Dunlap, Tennessee. And of course, as we know, when we're here, that means there's only one thing: football time in Bledsoe County. And when you're watching the Mike and Bradley sports team, we welcome you back to the broadcast. We welcome Bradley Hargis back as well, as he has some surgery done on him. He is recovering, but he is here with us. And Bradley, give an update on how you feeling.
Well, I'm feeling good. Feeling good. I think we've missed probably, what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, about that.
Three recordings, or at least 2.
At least one.
And yeah, I feel good. I'm ready to get back in the swing of things. Ready for football. I don't know if I'm ready for Mike yet, but I am ready for football.
I told him that I was going to come visit him if he didn't get well, and of course, you know, it's the miracle of medicine will do that to you.
Yeah, I got wind he was coming, and they discharged me the same day. All of a sudden, I just felt a whole lot better.
And so anyway, but he is recovering. It's going to take him a little while to get back up to full strength. But he is here with us tonight. Of course, is the Sequatchie Valley Jamboree, the state's oldest football jamboree. We're here at Dunlap, Tennessee, Sequatchie County High School. You can see the field behind us, and of course a lot of things will be happening in the next couple of weeks for Bledsoe County football. And the first thing we want to talk to is about a living legend in Bledsoe County. His name is John Alden Boynton, Coach Johnny Boynton. He will have a singular honor next Friday night, prior to the Sequatchie County game at Pikeville. There'll be the unveiling as the stadium will bear his name, John A. Boynton Stadium, James T. Warden Field. So John Boynton will have that, and it's rare that you get such a thing. And actually, the MC of that will be an old volunteer team player with him, and he has some stories. He has some interesting stories to tell. And one was that in 1965, during the Ole Miss game, he actually dislocated his shoulder. They said it was just frightening. They said, well, let's take you to the hospital to get you patched up. He said, no, let's do it this way. He said, it'll be painful. And they said, do it right here and now. And they did it, and they said you could see the sweat breaking out from his forehead because it was that painful. But he got back into the game and played. He was that type of player. Doug Dickey was one of the first 2 players that he recruited for Tennessee when he came in '64, and he said that's what a volunteer should look like: big, rangy, and quick.
Yeah.
And that's what he was. And John Boynton, that type of person.
Yeah, some would say this is long overdue. John Boynton has been a pillar of the community, especially in sports. Not only did he play at Bledsoe County, but he coached the football team for several years, and basketball. I think in every major sport he's had a hand in it. When he got out of it, the sports here in this valley, he was still involved because he was supplying the jerseys and the pads and everything at Warrior Sporting Goods. So Johnny has definitely been a pillar in this community, and we're hoping, I know there's a lot going on next week as far as the festivities and the things they're doing there before the game with him, but we're hoping to maybe get a few minutes with him and his wife Emma. I'd like to have them both stop by and say a few things and ask them a few questions. So if we can get that worked out,
if we can get that worked out,
it is going to be a very, very busy night for the Boynton family next Friday night.
That's right. 5 o'clock. They're going to have a reception in the library for his family and players and teammates are going to have that. And then 6:15 will be the unveiling ceremony in front of the stadium, the main entrance. We'd like the fans to show up in force to honor Coach Boynton, and then at halftime, former players and coaches will be at the 50-yard line to honor Coach Boynton. He'll probably be an honorary captain for the coin toss, most likely too.
Sure.
But you know, John Boynton is not a person that talks about himself. He just shows through his actions and deeds. And oh God, I wish we had more people like that in this world.
He's as humble as they come, and I'm telling you, somebody that has the accolades he has, the resume that he has, I mean, it's just, it's unparalleled as far as Bledsoe County sports. I mean, you just can't. Nobody has had the success. We've had great athletes, don't get me wrong, in every sport that we had at Bledsoe County, but Johnny Boynton's one of those that come once in a lifetime.
When he played at UT, he was 25-6-2.
Yep.
Won one SEC title, one national championship. Yes, Tennessee won a national championship in '67 according to Lickenhouse, and that is a legitimate national title. So he was the only player from Bledsoe County ever to play pro sports, as he played for 2 seasons at the Miami Dolphins. before he came back and started his coaching career. He was also the first head coach at Ray County, and he helped build that program up, and obviously they honored him last year.
Imagine how hard that would have been for Dayton City schools and Ray Central coming together, arch rivals coming together on one field,
and Spring
City coming together, on one field to be football teammates, and that was. Man, that had to be hard on him, but he really brought that team together.
Well, John has a way of bringing people together.
Well, sure,
and
absolutely.
And I never heard one bad word ever said by anybody in Bledsoe County. If there is, I don't remember it. But he's awfully. God deserves this honor. There's no doubt about it. This is a man who deserves this honor. Long overdue. He's going to have that stadium name. I think probably the only thing he'd be concerned about is they spelled his name right. and they better spell his name right, or he's liable to say something. They say one time he got into a practice fight on the field at UT with a player, and he was probably about a couple of blows behind the other guy, and he said, one of us is not going to get out of this alive. It's John Boyden for you. It's like that, because with John Boyden is that everybody on that team voted John Boyden the toughest guy on the UT football team, and he didn't say a lot, but his actions proved it. And that's how tough he was.
Yeah.
So John Boyden, congratulations to you. Congratulations to you. Next Friday night, Sequatchie County game. That's probably a good game, a dedication game. The stadium will be named in his honor. The John A. Boyden Stadium will be named in his honor. Now, of course, Bledsoe County here is now going to play in the Jamboree. This is sort of the warm-up. The state's oldest Jamboree. 5 teams. Again, Marion County, South Pittsburgh, Whitwell not playing, going over to Chattanooga, and it makes you really wonder what goes through those people's minds down there, but you just never know. But anyway, Bledsoe will play Howard in the second quarter, and then Grundy County in the third.
The only thing that Chattanooga Jamboree over there at Finley has is the fact that they're playing on a bigger stadium, Finley Stadium, and 2, they get more recognition as far as the news outlets and things like that. But they can have all that, because we've got the historical things here, the Sequatchie Valley Jamboree, the longest running Jamboree in the state. And here we have these teams that just want to go somewhere else. The grass ain't always green on the other side. So by all means, go right ahead. If you want to tuck tail and run, you can't play here with the big boys. Go right on.
Yeah.
Bledsoe, Sequatchie, and Grundy, and Howard and Grace Academy is going to kick it off tonight and see what we can do with one another.
Actually, if you look at this way, the Sequatchie Valley is now divided into 2 sections: the northern section and the southern section.
Oh yeah.
Bledsoe, Sequatchie, and Grundy in the northern section, and Marion, Pittsburgh, and Whitwell. Which, by the way, Bledsoe County will be playing at Whitwell this year, so that's going to be one of the opponents for Bledsoe County. And of course, next week, of course, the regular season starts. The big action starts. Bledsoe, Sequatchie County, John A. Boyden night. That's going to be the big story in the Sequatchie Valley, and obviously well deserved as well. Bledsoe last year went 9-3. Of course, may finish second in Region 2A. They're expected to contend for the region honors this year. They got to go up against York Institute. They got to go to York this year. But if you look at Region 2, what do you think of it? I mean, you got York, you got Bledsoe, you got Oneida, you got Polk, and you got the other guys.
Well, it's awful spread out because you got Oneida. It's at the Kentucky border up there. It's in our region. I think it's as far as it being a shoe-in. Last year, everybody across the board picked York to be the one, and rightfully so. York had a really good team last year, and they did win the region. This year, it's not as clear-cut. People have still said York has a decent team, Bledsoe County has a decent team, and every news outlet that I have seen has York and Bledsoe neck and neck as far as predicted to win this region and go into the playoffs as a #1 seed. It's going to be interesting when we go to Jamestown. It's a good thing when there's an article written about the Bledsoe County Warriors in the Chattanooga paper, and the writer Stephen Hargis says good things about Bledsoe County. No relation, by the way. That something is definitely looking good for Bledsoe County when we get that type of recognition, and because we hardly ever get it. Because the Chattanooga Free Press, they don't really pay much attention to Sequatchie County and Bledsoe County, unfortunately. It's all about Marion, South Pittsburgh, and everybody on the other side of the mountain over there. And notwithstanding, we can whip most of them that we play over there, but they don't want to give us any credit. But they did give us a good article, good write-up. You read that online and see what they said about us. But Bledsoe did get praising reviews, rave reviews from the editors of Chattanooga Times Free Press. Now, as far as the rest of the region goes, you're going to have that. You always have that sleeper team, Mike.
Right.
You always have that sleeper team, and I've got to give that title to Polk County, and I've got to give that title to Oneida, because those two teams, you just don't ever know what you're going to get.
Well, what about Tellico, the Bears?
Well, not talking now. Tellico, bless their heart, they've got a long way to go. I mean, they could surprise somebody.
Well, they
this
do.
year.
They're real good at homecoming
Oh, yeah,
things. They're real good at that.
Yeah.
They're undefeated in homecoming contests.
But I would almost bank on the fact that your first place team in our region is going to be York or Bledsoe County.
Yeah.
Obviously, the other one will be second. Polk and Oneida will compete for second and third. Tellico will bring up the rear, but it's going to be interesting. It's really going to be interesting to see how things shake out. I think Bledsoe has the ability to contend for a region title. I also think Bledsoe County has the ability this year to go deeper into the playoffs because of the talent that we have. We have good talent on the line that has returned.
Yeah.
We have some guys that have hit growth spurts. We've had guys that stepped up in leadership roles.
Right.
We've had our skill players. They're back healthy. We came in Seaver back. He was out last year with an Achilles injury. So it's going to be really interesting to see what Coach Tabor's done with the guys on the off season, how well they have congealed together. I mean, we had a few scrimmages, did very well against Stone, did very well against McMinn Central. It's going to be interesting to see what we can do in a game type situation next week against our arch rival to start the season off.
Well, you know, Stone, of course, did a lot of passing in the scrimmage, and of course, we're probably not going to play that caliber type team during the regular season. But you have to look at Bledsoe County. Is that since Coach Tabor has come here, he's won 42 games, and here's a fact that not many people know: he's never been shut out in even one. He's always scored in every game.
You had to go and say that, didn't you?
You know, I had to. You know, it's like
you had to go. Now I'm telling you, people that are football fans know that you don't say stuff like that because it's a jinx. Something's going to happen. And here Mike is coming over here saying we've never been shut out. You know, you just don't say stuff like that.
Well,
Mike.
in 55 games, it's certainly true. It's hard not to ignore such a thing. It's not trying to jinx the man. It's just like this. It's like, remember I used to say, well, you know, Bledsoe has not turned the ball over in the game, and it's never happened. And
it normally happens when somebody says something like that. We've not had any penalties. Boom, penalty. We've not had a turnover. Boom, turnover. It usually happens like that. It's like it's a jinx. You just don't flirt with it. You just don't say anything like that.
Well, you know, it's like now. Of course, you know, Bledsoe has a good schedule. Bledsoe hosts Sequatchie County next week. Goes to Cumberland County the week after, then hosts Sail Creek, then of course goes to York, and then of course Wartburg comes down here, and then Tellico Plains comes up here. We will not have a 2-hour homecoming thing like Tellico
surely.
did. And then of course you got Oneida, and you got you know, Whitwell, and you got to come here, and then of course you have the playoffs, and Bledsoe's probably almost sure going to get the playoffs on that, but probably next year you're going to have a different region Bledsoe will be in, I think, because they're cutting it down to 2 years or than 4, unless TWA. Also
likely going to probably see Oneida out of the region. We'll probably add Monterey. I'm thinking Monterey will probably come in, or Marion will come back up.
Monterey, I think Monterey's problem was that it has one whale of an inferiority complex. You know, they do, because last time we played, remember what happened at the end of that game? That got near.
That was trash if it ever was, and I mean, there's no room on the field for that. And when you got the coaches involved, that says a lot about the team. And again, it's sad for the players who are trying to be good sports, that a handful of players and a handful of coaches would represent the school like that. And then you have the stands, you had the fans who are yelling obscenities as well. I mean, there's no room for that on the field. There's no place for that in football. And if you can't do any better than that, don't play the game.
The thing is, I saw this video of Sequatchie County people saying, hey, look, we're telling the fans, watch your language, watch your tongue, be sportsmanlike, enjoy the game, but don't ruin it for everyone. One thing before we go to a break here is I want to show something Bradley had presented to me, and I thought it was going to be something horrible, like a Sequatchie County shirt or something like that. But he thought we needed to do an outfit upgrade, and this is, of course, what we're going to be wearing. Bradley's already wearing it, so an upgrade, because the shirts that we had were getting,
well, you know, you can't ever say that I don't think about my cousin Mike over here.
You actually admitted that you're related to me? Oh my God!
He's always giving me down the road, but I thought about it and I said, you know, I'm ordering me some. I might as well order Mike one too. You know, because that way we can be.
I was afraid he was going to put Mikey on it or something like that.
I thought about it. Yeah. I thought about it. I really did.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that. But anyway, but like I say, thanks to Bradley for that little gift, and Bradley, of course, will be back with us, and of course. Again, as I said, the reason he left the hospital was because I threatened to come visit him. So, again, like this. So we're going to go to a commercial break, and then we come back, we're going to talk the college football scene, which is about to set to begin in about a couple of weeks. As you're watching the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative, Channel 18.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. While you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, GG Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Okay, we're back. We're going to start talking about some college football here. And of course, that means in 2 weeks, the college football season will start. Of course, some minor games to start probably the week around the 31st. And then, of course, Tennessee opens up its season hosting the Moccasins of Chattanooga. And the Chattanooga Moccasins, of course, said to be a pretty good team, one of those contenders for a playoff spot and the Southern Conference Championship. Tennessee, of course, picked number 15 in both AP and coaches poll, picked 7th in the league, which I think they should be higher.
Yeah, well.
And Ole Miss and Texas, the TSIPs, really like a term. And of course, people are saying about the SEC's warning fans about you doing the horns down bid on Texas. So
well, they've earned it.
Yeah, well, as Archie Manning told the Texas fans, you in the big boy league now. He said this is not high school league. This is the SEC. So they have not won an SEC game yet, and Oklahoma hasn't won either. Texas think they're going to run through the SEC, and that just don't happen here in the Southeastern Conference.
As far as Tennessee is concerned, I think that obviously the first couple games or first couple to 3 games are going to be obviously warm-up games.
Yeah, obviously it's going to be Chattanooga. You got North Carolina State, and you got Kent State.
North Carolina State is a team that could give you some trouble.
They won 9 games last year.
But the real kicker for Tennessee is when they go into Norman, Oklahoma. When they go into Oklahoma in that 4th game, if they go in there and at least contend or beat Oklahoma, I really do believe Tennessee will have a really good team, a really good season this year, and I believe that they can. I believe Tennessee has the weapons that they have. I mean, they've got two of the top defensive players, all SEC, all preseason all SEC already. Pierce is expected to go in the top 5 in the draft
this
year.
He's a Heisman Trophy candidate also.
I mean, and with Nico coming in, I mean, he played well last year in the bowl game against Iowa. I mean, there's so many different options that he has. Brew McCoy's back. We got that guy that came from Oregon, the receiver that transferred. We got Squirrel White still. We got guys that came up.
Brew McCoy.
I mean, they're in good shape. My concern is if the line will perform the way they're supposed to, and I think they will, because rating-wise, the line is supposed to be better this year than they were last year, and that'll be good for Nico. That'll also be good for the running backs that are stepping up to fill those voids left by transfers and graduation. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how Tennessee plays. If the defense can take it up 2 notches and the offensive line can take it up a notch, I think Tennessee is going to surprise a few teams this year.
I think, he also will be also the fact that Josh Heupel, who was their quarterback on their national championship team, is going to be back in town. That's a little bit of crowd in and of itself. But what gets me is Brent Venables, the coach at Oklahoma, goes 7-5 last year, and they give him a contract extension. I mean, people are saying this is crazy. If he goes 6-6, what's going to happen? People are going to say, well, it was a mistake, that sort of thing. The thing is that Oklahoma is not as powerful as they used to be. They just don't. The talent level is just not there as much.
Now, with that being said, we can safely say that Oklahoma is a very good team. But it is a very safe bet to say they're not as powerful, not as potent as they were back in the Stoops days. Bob Stoops had a different way of performing, and they had some stars come through there, Heisman Trophy winners, national championships. That is a whole different era. And now that what they have now, it's not, the competition at Oklahoma is not what it was, but it is still stout.
Yeah, but this is unusual because Tennessee's usually the first SEC opponent is Florida. That isn't until October, so Oklahoma is the first SEC opponent. If Tennessee starts out 4-0, goes in there, then hosts Florida, and then beats Florida, you're probably going to look at Tennessee going in to the Alabama game undefeated. Against an Alabama team who probably could be undefeated. Of course, now this is a story going around. You know why Nick Saban decided to up and quit, decided to up and retire? Well, he wanted Jeremy Pruitt back as his offensive coordinator, but the NCAA had him on a show cause, which meant that he would have to sit out a year and do nothing. No coaching, no practice, no sessions, nothing. He'd have to sit out a year, and he couldn't do that. And he also got tired of players asking him, how much are you going to pay me? Nick Saban, okay, enough is enough. Right. So he gets out. Now you look at Michigan. They gave Jim Harbaugh a 4-year show cause. Means he can't go back into college coaching for 4 years. Now that's punishment, and they're talking about the death penalty for Michigan. Taking away the championship, taking away the wins, take away all those nice little toys that they got.
Yeah.
You hear, when you hear the term death penalty being waged around, it has not been done since SMU. Right. In '87, and you look what happened to SMU. It wrecked that program. It took 25 years to get back to a bowl. And do you think that the death penalty should be?
It'll be hard. No. Yes and no. I mean, rules are rules. They potentially broke them. If they find it guilty, there does need to be a punishment, a stiff punishment, to deter any of that activity later on. But I honestly do not see the NCAA giving Michigan that type of penalty, due to the fact that even though Michigan is not in an SEC market, Michigan and Ohio State are big money makers in the Big Ten for the NCAA. Yeah. So I don't see the NCAA taking that drastic of a turn. It has to be an egregious, which means what SMU did, they were repeat offenders. Right. They kept doing it and doing it and doing it. Probation, scholarship reductions, coaches fired over and over again. Of course, they said there were no Bibles in the room.
They were going to stop this payment, but we made a promise to these players to keep paying them. $25,000, $50,000, and finally the NCAA said enough is enough. That's it. No program for 2 years. Of course, it was 1 year, but SMU decided for the second year because they didn't have enough players to get up there. But you know, of course it's and NCAA realized that that's a very, very extreme. But that's the talk that's going around until the NCAA.
There's a whole lot more money floating around in the NCAA and the Big Ten and the conferences, especially surrounding Michigan and Ohio State and the big schools like that, for the NCAA to pull a plug on a program that is that successful and that well known and that well supported as far as boosters are concerned and money. It's going to be difficult for them to pull the plug on that. So I look for a stiff penalty, but I do not believe the death penalty. I don't think they'll pull the plug on the program.
I don't think so.
I don't think they will, because money does talk.
They may strip them of the national championship like they did with
that
USC.
Is possible. That is
and
possible.
They made Bush give back the Heisman.
Yeah.
Even though years later they gave it back to him because really he was not the only can do. But of course Kentucky found itself in hot water. It turns out that a lot of their players, not on the football and the swimming team, would go to jobs, leave, then collect the paycheck. And it turned out the staff did not know about the football. The coaching staffs did not know about it, so they were cleared, but they still had to forfeit some games because of those. So because of so many ineligible players, but Kentucky was placed on a probation, no bowl ban, no TV ban, that sort of thing. They got off light, but they got off. They nearly got off on that. Of course, you know, Tennessee, of course, got nailed, but. They changed the rules around that. Basically, is that they cleaned up the act.
Well, it's one thing about it. I mean, you can't. That's one thing I hate about the NCAA is they investigate and try to bring you into, get you in trouble. But what they're investigating you, there's so much gray area that the wording on the rule is not specific, and you can't punish somebody based on an implication.
That's right.
You can't punish somebody based on an interpretation of what it does not say. I mean, it didn't say Tennessee couldn't, it didn't say Tennessee could, but the fact of the matter is, if I give you such a vague rule to follow, and then turn right around and say, well, you didn't do it the way I wanted you to do it.
Hey, that's not my problem.
No, I'm sorry, that's not your problem. I mean, that's on me because I didn't word it correctly. Right. So that they've had to go back and revamp that and look at the wording so that they can enforce, you know, something this coming year and on forward, because now they can't just up and say, well, we're going to pick and choose and cherry pick, and you know good and well. You know good and well. And I'm not trying to justify wrongdoing. But you know good and well that every college, every major college on the stage that Tennessee is at, have done the same thing.
Absolutely.
But they cherry-picked Tennessee, and Tennessee fought back. Took it to court. Virginia got involved.
Took it to court.
Took it to court, and I thought others would get involved. But when the NCAA was like, wait a minute, we don't have a leg to stand on here, they pulled the plug on it.
Yeah.
And they gave it. They said, forget it. It's done. They just let it go.
Yeah, it's just like it used to be. The NCAA rules is that a coach could not pick up a player hitchhiking in the rain.
Yep.
That was considered an extra benefit. And a lot of coaches broke that rule. Said, I'm not going to let a guy catch pneumonia in the rain. I'm going to pick him up. And the NCAA did nothing. They also had one instance where you had a practice player. Wasn't on the regular team, wasn't on first, second, or third string. Practice player, he was in his dorm. He couldn't afford to go home for the Christmas holidays. He only had $15. Only thing the coaches could do for him was put him on the travel squad, so at least he could get something to eat. He wouldn't get to play, but at least he would get something to eat.
Yeah. And
that sort of thing. It tells you how it is. The NCAA has to do some changes. Now they're talking now about, you know about the NIT, which is the basketball tournament. It's like used to be bigger in the NCAA before the NCAA got it. They're talking about that for football. I don't know how they're going to exactly do that. You have 64 teams. You're going to put 64 football teams in there, and you're going to have them play and play and play. Now you got the CFP with 12 teams, which starts on January 1st and ends on January 20th.
The problem with that is, it's much easier when you have 64 basketball teams because you can play up to three games a week.
Now it's 68. Now it's 68. You have playing games.
Well, you have to play in, yeah. You can play 3 and 4 games a week. Take a couple days off.
Yeah.
Play 3 games.
Right.
You can't do that with football.
Well, no, you can't.
So there is no way they're going to be able to field 64 teams in a bracket and let them play it out unless they cut it down to like 8-minute quarters.
Well, you know, I think about it is that is that this is a so-called proposal that comes out of Washington. They may never implement it. They may never implement. You know, it's sort of like the SEC, the Big Ten, and the ACC, or something like the Big Ten or SEC may go off and make their own rules, be a separate thing from the NCAA. I don't.
The SEC could do that now.
Yeah, they can. They make their own rules.
I mean, they could do that right now, and with the teams they have, because we could play a full schedule with the teams that we have in the conference right now, and who's to say if the NCAA did that? I mean, SEC did that, or even the Big Ten did that. Who's going to join? You're going to have a lot of teams, because that's going to open up a lot of doors for other teams to come in that the SEC can kind of cherry pick. Yes, I do want you. No, I don't. As opposed to having to go through the loopholes of the NCAA and their conferences. So there wouldn't be any agreements then. So if the SEC was their own organization, and let's say, for example, I don't think it'll happen, but let's say Florida State says, hey, I want to join, and the ACC says, well, you can't transfer conferences because you're under contract.
They're already pretty much saying that.
And they say, well, I'm sorry, but
they're already saying that already.
I'm not joining another conference. I'm joining another organization.
Well, the problem is with the SEC is that I don't think they're all that keen on getting Florida State. I think because of the way they're behaving lately, they would either have to go to the Big Ten or the Big 12. Florida certainly doesn't want Florida State in the SEC.
Florida doesn't want Florida State. South Carolina doesn't want Clemson. Georgia doesn't want Georgia Tech.
Texas didn't want Texas A&M.
Texas didn't. Yeah, A&M didn't want Texas. Yeah.
That tells you how. That's why they got away from the Big 12, because they wanted to get away from this Texas. You know, that sort of thing. And you know, the thing about it is that again, Texas and Oklahoma are going to find out real fast how they're going to get a shot to the mouths when they start playing that conference
Texas
schedule.
and Oklahoma could do well. They could do well in the SEC, but what they are expecting to do in the SEC is not going to happen.
They're not going to rule
They're not going to come in and it be Texas and Oklahoma show all the rest of the time they're in the SEC. They're going to struggle. I mean, they don't play. Yes, Texas did beat Alabama, but they don't play in the Big 12. The Georgias and the Floridas and the Alabamas and the LSUs and the Arkansas and the Ole Misses and the Tennessees like the SEC plays. You know, they play mediocre talent. I mean, when you think of the Big 12, if you don't think of the Oklahoma Sooners and you don't think of the Texas Longhorns, who do you think of? Well, you're hard up to find
not Iowa State.
No, you're hard up to find somebody else that really comes up to that standard. Oklahoma State is close. Texas Christian is close, and Baylor was close there for a while. But those three teams in the SEC are mediocre at best.
Yeah.
You know, Kentucky, who we might consider one of the SEC mediocre teams, not bad, but one of the just kind of, you know,
they're on the edge.
They're a tough opponent, and anything can happen. Kentucky would stomp them.
You know, let's be honest right now, is that in the 1950s, Oklahoma had a 47-game winning streak. Do you know why? Because they didn't play anybody. Back then, the Big 8, which Oklahoma was a member of, had Oklahoma and the Seven Stooges.
Yeah.
Nobody could. They said, well, Bear Bryant, when he played Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl against Kentucky, he ran film on them, and they said Oklahoma played dirty, biting, stomping, kicking, gouging. They did, and the players would come out and report they would have bite marks and God knows what else on them, and Bryant didn't believe it until he actually saw it for himself, and he said simply is that what beat Oklahoma is that Kentucky was quicker.
Yeah.
They were smaller, but they were quicker. They said they hit Kentucky they hit Oklahoma even before they snapped that ball. That was it, and that's why Kentucky beat Oklahoma in the Sugar Bowl one year. And you know, it is that with Texas, they come in there, and they ruled the Southwest Conference for a long, long while. They were vicious. You had Texas A&M, and then you had the rest, because that's why SMU cheated, because they couldn't keep up with Texas. And what it was is that Texas, you know, they always claimed that they were the real UT. The SEC said no. Tennessee is the real UT. So whenever you see a list of players, you would have UT for Tennessee player, TEX for Texas, and it drives the Texas people mad. Of course, Tennessee's going to play Texas in 2026, I think, at Knoxville.
Yeah.
And they're going to find out real fast how big that stadium is. And I mean, let's face it, Texas has got a big stadium, but they're not up in Tennessee's class.
No. Well, not as far as stadium is concerned. Absolutely not.
And speaking of Pilot has entered an agreement with the University of Tennessee to preserve the Neyland Stadium name, which says you ain't changing the name of the stadium to Pilot Stadium. It's Neyland Stadium. What happened if Tennessee did that? You would have a riot.
There'd be riots in the streets all over the state.
You just don't do that, and that sort of thing, and you know, it's just absolutely just what the SEC is trying to do, is trying to get these teams up for this. And you got how many? 9 teams in the top 25 in the SEC, the most of every conference. You got, you know, Tennessee. And you look at one of Tennessee's baseball players is playing baseball in Chattanooga. They came down, and Vitello came down there and threw the first pitch. That tells you how. And it was Tennessee Orange night down at AT&T Field, and that tells you what's going on here.
You know, it's interesting to see. I was looking over the top 25, and Tennessee's 15th. And I think that should probably be higher, but you know, like we mentioned earlier, Oklahoma's right behind us. But what really surprised me was Ole Miss was ranked so high. They're ranked 6th.
I think I think Ole Miss is overrated. Yeah, I'll tell you why. First off, Ole Miss has not won an SEC title since I was 2 years old. I'm 63. Now, does that tell you right here on the spot about how long that was? They won a few games, and you know, 10-win seasons.
So what is it? Is Alabama 5, Texas 4?
Texas 4, Georgia 1.
Georgia 1.
Ohio
State's 2, and Oregon's 3.
Oregon's 3. That tells you right there. You know, the SEC. You know, they got something called on SEC TV is being played right now called Decade of Dominance, which the SEC has won 6 college football national championship football, the most of any conference.
Yeah.
That tells you that in 10 years, 6. That tells you how tough the SEC is to play against each other. And with the 12-team college football playoff team, Tennessee is probably going to be in being one of the slots. I would say most likely. So it should be interesting. Georgia's going to play Texas the same day Alabama and Tennessee are going to be playing. So this should be an interesting switch the game back and forth.
Let's hope one plays early, midday, and one play. Let's hope Georgia, Texas play midday, like 3.
I would say Georgia and Texas will be a primetime game, and Tennessee, Alabama will be an afternoon game. I would say so because I hate to put Georgia and Texas above Alabama and Tennessee, but I think it's probably a little more
of a marquee game.
More a marquee game than Tennessee, Alabama. And you know, Tennessee, Alabama is always used to play an afternoon game, so you know it's pretty. You know, there's a story about how Tennessee put lights in his stadium. Tennessee had scheduled a home and homes deal with Penn State. Okay, Penn State came to Knoxville, and it was December, and Tennessee beat the lights out of them. And Paterno said it was too hot. This is Knoxville in December, not as cold as Happy Valley. Okay, they were going to play it up in Happy Valley in December, but they told me, you have final exams, you can't play it that year. So the only slot was early September. Well, here comes Bob Woodruff. He says, can I get you to come down to Knoxville for a rematch? He says, yeah, you can. He put lights in. So Woodruff starts conniving to have lights put in. He had to get past the UT president, who has to say yes. And the UT president, and he connived. This is how he did it. They got a hotel room, same room. Well, the UT president didn't like being with Woodruff because he snored. And he said, get me a different room. And he said, yeah, I'll get you a different room. Will you let us have lights in the stadium? Yes, you can let you have lights in the stadium. You get us a room. And that's what happened. And Tennessee beat Penn State again.
Oh my goodness.
That's how they got lights. They said the lights in early SEC stadiums were so bright that you could do hidden ball tricks because nobody could see the ball. that's how bad it was. They said the last SEC team to put lights in the stadium was Missouri.
Wow.
And that sort of thing. But it tells you what it is. That's why. Do you prefer a game during the day or do you prefer a night game?
Depends. It depends. And the reason for that is, if it is a cool fall afternoon, I love it.
Yeah.
But there is something about playing under those lights.
There is, because it's this one. You look at UT when they come out on those lights and they come out there and the tee is lit up.
Oh yeah.
And they're coming out there and that's it's unusual because I've been to day games and they're okay.
Yeah.
LSU doesn't like playing games during the daytime. They don't like that because they lose. Yep. Tennessee played LSU in the daytime and Tennessee just stomped them. And then that was an interesting thing. But yeah, I would really prefer night games because it's more fun that way.
Yeah.
And you can always see the little drones hovering above with their lights glowing and that sort of thing. and interesting, of course, when you do a day game, there's something dead about it. Yeah. It just doesn't seem the same. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about some pro baseball, especially about a game to be played next year, and we're also going to look at some interesting news of the day, sports news of the day, including a tragic death of a motocross cyclist who died this morning in a tragic accident. As you're watching the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative, Channel 18.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. While you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, GG Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
Okay, everybody, we're back. First off, we want to have a little sad news. I don't know many of you know who this man is, but I certainly don't until I heard about it this morning. His name is Scott Bloomquist, and he was a motocross, which means the motorcycles going through like sort of like the ruddy ground. And you've seen them.
Dirt bikes, basically.
Dirt bikes. And he died this morning. He was piloting a plane above his property when something went wrong and it crashed, and he was killed at age 60. He was considered the greatest motocross sportsman of all. They consider, he won at least nine championships, and he was still doing it up to this year.
Yeah. So
obviously a very tragic thing. And he lives up in Tennessee. He was here. He was a Crossville. He did a lot of his motocross in Crossville in the 1980s. So a lot of people remember him here. And our condolences go off to the to the Bloomquist family on the death of their family member. And of course, rest in peace, Scott, wherever you are. Okay, Major League Baseball is, I don't know if you know this or not, Bradley, but there is going to be another Battle of Bristol up in Bristol, Tennessee.
Yep, but it's not going to be on the gridiron.
No, it's not. It's going to be baseball. It's going to be the Cincinnati Reds and the Atlanta Braves on August 2nd, 2025. They're going to turn the infield into a baseball diamond, and this should be interesting how that's going to look. It's going to be the world's largest baseball, and it's actually going to be the first Major League Baseball regular season game played in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, Bradley, I know you're probably going to try to get some tickets to that.
I'd love to. I'd love to go up there just to be part of the moment. You know, I mean, we went up to the Battle of Bristol when Tennessee played Virginia Tech several years ago, and I mean, it was just, the atmosphere was great.
160,000.
Everyone looked like, the players looked like ants, you know. But hey, I mean, you were still part of it, you know.
I think, you know, they had little TV screens in there. You can see the action with them, and they had this big screen hanging above the field. You know, they actually wanted that for years. They actually had done play some pro football games when they first built that track in the 1960s. So basically, they were not unfamiliar with it. Boy, and after they put that together in a matter of weeks. I mean, you know, they had dump trucks and dump trucks full of gravel. They put the artificial turf on that, all the buildings, the infields, and they made it work. And Tennessee, Virginia Tech played each other, and that was an interesting game.
Yeah.
And Battle of Bristol, 160,000. They had another game after we only had 20,000. So, you know, basically it's that. But they said
their idea was going to try to make it an annual event, but
it got to be too expensive.
Yeah,
it was money.
They just went ahead and played one more game the week after Tennessee and Vanderbilt. I think it was, Tennessee and Virginia Tech. I believe it was Western Carolina, and somebody.
I think it was Carolina, and, Appalachian State, or I think
it just didn't have the draw, and they decided it was just too costly and too much to get all that done. So,
baseball, of course, it's getting down to it, and of course for October, the Braves and. I think they've got another team right now that's going real hot. I think it's the Mets or something like that.
Padres are hot. The Mets are doing well. The Braves are still in contention for the wild card. I mean, the wild card's wide open right now. And I think there's some 40 games left. And the Braves have a couple series left with the Phillies. They also have a couple series left for the Marlins and the Mets, so it could be very interesting to see how that wild card plays out. It's not necessarily a have-to win right now, but the Braves are, if it ended right now, the Braves would be in the wild card in the playoffs. But there's they still, even though it's 40 games, it's a lot of baseball to chat to when you're just like 2 or 3 games that separate in the wild card, the first place and third place. You know, that's huge. 40 games left, so I look for Atlanta to be okay if they could just stay healthy and not lose anybody else. I mean, we've been prone to injury this year. Acuna going out, then Harris going out, and then Strider going out. I mean, you had all these guys that are just dropping like flies, and Atlanta was picked to run the gauntlet this year, and injuries had another idea for them. So, but that's baseball, and that's any sport you play. But I'll still keep chopping, even though
that's a Florida State thing.
Even though I think that Albert's Dodgers are probably going to be the team that's going to go this year, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, of course, that's a Florida State thing. Of course, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the chop, and I know you're probably gonna harass me about that for all throughout the season about how great the Braves are and all that, and that sort of thing. And of course, again, NFL football. Let's talk about NFL football here for a second. Joe Milton, proving that he can play NFL football. Had got some good significant playing time in preseason.
Oh, yeah. There was talk there at one time they were going to move him to tight end, and they talked to Joe about it, and he was like,
No,
I'm here to play quarterback.
You know, Hendon Hooker finally got to play.
Yeah.
And he's proved that he's still got the moves. He threw some long passes. He also ran for some pretty good yards. And of course, everyone was thinking about the knee, and indicate that he's quite in there. he's probably going to be the number 2 starter behind the starter for Detroit.
Yeah.
Next year, and of course, all the Tennessee players are getting in there and they're playing their part in the NFL. Great success to them, and of course, the rosters have to be cut before the regular season begins. And let's hope that these players will manage to avoid getting cut.
The only hope.
But you look at it this way: baseball, still ways to go. Pro football coming up after Labor Day weekend, and of course you got the college football team coming up with Tennessee opening up against Chattanooga Saturday. That'll be a Saturday late morning kickoff, and of course a lot of people hoping Tennessee will do great things. I think is that Tennessee probably made the right choice. The coaches, apparently it's showing.
Oh yeah.
And I think a lot of people say, however, I hear a couple of Goombas, if he doesn't make the college football playoffs, Josh Heupel should be fired.
You know, if I wouldn't lose my contacts, I would roll my eyes to the back of my head so far. There's comments like that. It's just ridiculous. I mean, I'm not even going to touch that one.
Yeah,
I'm not getting on that bus. I ain't doing it.
You don't hear it as often as you heard it like Butch Jones and Jeremy Pruitt and Derek Dooley and all those other things, but you do hear it from once in a while from people who just don't know what planet they're on half the time. And they say, and every time I hear a statement like that, I award them the Order of the Fairweather Fan Cap.
Yeah.
That's how.
They need it, and it looks a lot like a dunce cap.
Actually, it's a standard ball cap like this. It's just got Fairweather Fan on it.
And got some music going on the background.
Yeah, they are checking out the PA system here. Of course, we're going to have the Jamboree tonight. Bledsoe, Sequatchie County, Grundy County, Howard will be playing tonight, and obviously that's going to be only 5 teams. And really, to be honest, it's probably the best Jamboree around. I mean, you go to Chattanooga.
Yeah.
Who knows who you are? They don't care.
Yeah.
But then, here we care.
It's all about the money over there.
All about the money, and obviously.
All about the money, all about the show, all about the flash, and we're all over here. We're about football.
Of course, here if you look at the flash, they got those little bombs. We have nukes. So and of course, they'll play here tonight, and then next week will be the start thing. It'll be the John Boynton dedication game, the dedication of the stadium that will bear his name, and we'd like the fans to show up for that next week and honor John Boynton as he gets a singular honor. As many of his players said you have a stadium named after Neyland. You have one of his teammates has a stadium named after him. He was a very successful coach, and he will be there next week, Coach Young, and maybe we'll get to talk to him. I think there are also rumors that Doug Dickey will be there also. We might get a hold of him and talk to him a little bit, and of course we can get John and Emil Boynton to come in there. And of course, John Boynton, you and I will agree with this 100%. He's a class act.
Sure.
And a perfect gentleman. And I always had the feeling every time he sees me, he smiles and says, yeah, what are you up to this time, Mike?
You know, to give anything in the world to have been playing when he was coaching. I think he would have been an excellent person to play for.
You know, he was one of those guys that, basically he's like Doug Dickey said when he saw John Boynton and Bob Johnson. He said he'd never seen 2 players so big in all his life. And he said, if I can get players like that on every recruiting trip, I'll have the easiest job in the world. And that's what and Doug Dickey said he was the prototype of the volunteer. Yep. Sort of like a little Abner type guy. Doesn't say a lot, but what he says goes. You hear the term when he gets on the bus. So now you all quiet down now, and they shut up.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I would hate to be on his bad side. That's all I say. So well, this will wrap it up here for the Mike and Bradley sports scene. Bradley, you have some final words to say, and I know you do.
Well, I always close off with the same tagline, and I got to do it here. Go Blue, go Braves, and go Big Orange.
So Bledsoe County tonight to Jamboree here. They'll play Howard in the second quarter, and then Grundy in the third, and then We'll have the game next week with Sequatchie County. That'll be a game time of 7 o'clock. 5 o'clock they'll have a reception in the library for the Boynton family, and then at 6:15 will be the dedication. We will cover that dedication live to you on WAT for those who aren't going to make it. We do encourage the fans to show up in force to even the Sequatchie County fans will welcome them to honor John Boynton, as the stadium will be named in his honor. John A. Boynton Stadium. And I'm thinking about the only concern that Boynton hopes that the name is spelled right.
I think they've got that out.
John A. Boynton Stadium, and of course we'll have that game time for you with the pregame at 6 p.m. next week, and we'll have the game time kick off at 7 p.m. on WATAM. So goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time here on the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18. Good night, everybody.